Someone told me, oh, you're gonna have a badge and this will become much more easier to sell your work. In French, we say, when you sit between two chairs, we say avoir le cul entre deux chaises. You either go on the right chair or on the left chair. I feel like Substack is like a raft on which all the other people from all of the other social networks came, because it's basically where all the people want to escape the metrics. It's kind of my goal here too.
First of all, congratulations. You recently became a Substack bestseller, which is amazing, with your publication Feed Your Mind. I think this is a big milestone. How did it feel when you saw that badge for the first time? Because we met on Substack Notes, where I saw you would be just like 2 paid subscribers away from becoming a bestseller. So what was this feeling like?
It was really great because at first I did not really know the whole details about the Substack system, so I didn't know about the badge. And it was like when I was about like around like 90 premium subscriber, someone told me, oh, you're gonna have a badge and this will become much more easier to sell your work, etc. So I was very surprised at the beginning. And I was even more surprised because I only started this work like 6 months ago when I became a bestseller, because I became a bestseller like 2 weeks ago or something like that. And I gain like those premium subscribers like really quickly. Like now I tend to gain like maybe like 20 a month or something like that. And I feel like now it's much more easier and like it gives you a lot of credibility, because I now have like around 20 doctors and 20 students in biochemistry that pay actually to read my work. So it's really, really good, especially since I don't have a PhD like in biochemistry. And maybe we'll talk about that a bit later. But this is really great because I feel that now I'm supposed to be like in the 5% or something like that. There is some statistics about Substack. So yeah, that's really great. And that has been a surprise for me because I don't want to do like the whole, motivational mindset, etc. But first I did not believe it, that I was saying like my mother, I was saying, oh, like today I had 3 new free subscriber. It's really good, at the beginning. And so now things are like really escalated really, really quickly. And they tend to get like even better.
20 paid subscribers per month. This is crazy good.
And especially since I publish on the Facebook group, because I really feel like it's like the connection of the different channels, that really, really helps and make because I'm really starting and you seems to be really good with the algorithm and how to increase visibility and things like that. So yeah, this has been a great pleasure, but also a surprise, I would say.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, so for everyone like listening or watching, this is really like on Substack, we have like 3 batches. And I was, like in a similar state of mind back then when I got my bestseller badge, because I was also, wow, there is a bestseller badge. I didn't know about this. And so, yeah, if you have 100 paid subscribers, you're going to get this white badge. Then we have an orange badge. This means you have 1,000 paid subscribers. And if you have then hundreds of thousands of subscribers, you're going to get the purple badge.
Yeah, I've seen some of those people with the purple badge and I've discovered it also.
And now on Substack, we have 50 millionaires for me. So we have lots of people earning millions per year, not just like being a millionaire, accumulated over whatever, like 10 years or so. It's really every year they
Yeah.
are based on paid subscriptions, they earn $1 million, which is crazy.
Like on a more general note, I really like this content because someone told me that on Substack, like it's a different system than like on all the social networks, because here you're basically own your own content. Like you are the owner of your content. So I didn't know that because, on Substack, when you talk about nutrition, there are domains that tend to be criticized, by like official health bodies. So at the beginning, I was wondering, like, is it like a good place, like to really like invest time? Because like if it can be suppressed, just by a click, by someone clicking like in an office, like in San Francisco or something like that. So basically they can delete your work, which has happened on Facebook, unfortunately. But I was really surprised by the content because here you have like a lot of freedom. On my post, I just put a disclaimer, like some legal text. But this is really a new format. And I do have this analogy on Substack that I found. I feel like Substack is like a raft, like on water, like a raft on which all the other people from all of the other social networks came, because it's basically where all the people who basically want to escape the matrix. It's kind of my goal here too.
Jerry Kashka, for instance, he told me that he got like restricted and he lost thousands of subscribers on Facebook. Then Melanie Goodman, for instance, she's pretty active on LinkedIn. She didn't have any access to her 40,000 people on LinkedIn anymore. And this is crazy. And so I think when you're talking about metrics, you're gonna talk about the algorithm. Am I right about this gatekeeper that is the
Yeah,
algorithm?
yeah. And also just to gain freedom, on what you're doing, because I now have like 109 premium subscribers, so I can now pay all my groceries in Paris, which is quite an accomplishment on a platform like Substack.
You talked about like Facebook. I think this is the place where you started, and your story is definitely not a story where we can say you now are building like a flywheel thing or so, bringing all the people from Facebook to over to Substack. It's really more that you have also like a personal story to why you are now sharing the things you are sharing. So I would say like for all the people who have no clue who you are, could you like share a bit more about why you're doing the things you're doing? And I guess this is also an explanation for why you are so successful now on Substack.
Well, the story is quite long because I started to got interested into nutrition because when I was younger, now I'm not 27 years old. Like when I was a teenager, I was not like feeling really good, like I was a really anxious person and things like that. So I always like stumble on forums like Reddit, Facebook groups and things like that. And I started to read about this and about the relationship between nutrition. So when I say nutrition, it's like food, but it's also nutrient, basically like health supplements, amino acids, and all the science behind it. Like 3 years ago, I came to the realization that I've spent maybe thousands of hours reading on those like forums. Like I've read many, many, many things because I was really wanting to get better, like the natural route. And I've read so much things about biochemistry and about the brain and about nutrition and things like that. So I basically came to the realization that now, and the thing that really convinced me to do so is when a doctor actually like told me that I should change career, and the guy was really high in the mental health business. He was a psychiatrist, and like he told me like you missed your profession. Like in French when we say you missed your vocation, I don't know. I don't know if the word vocation does ex- does exist in English, but basically your professional purpose, if I have to find like an analogy. So I basically decided to create this place because I already was on many Facebook groups, and some people were like soliciting many advices, and I said, oh, I'm not a doctor, so please like consult with your doctor, blah blah blah. But I agree that people should always consult with their doctor, of course. But the thing is that a lot of people want to escape the current health system, like drug-based health system, which really can help people, but that it tends to make them worse on the long run. This is my opinion, and this has been my observations. And I've seen many people really hurt by the pharmaceutical system and like by the side effects and etc. So I literally decided to create this place because there was a demand like at the beginning from the Facebook group. And this is kind of the real relationship that made all of this project possible. This came really from the people. So I created this place and I really quickly had a few hundred subscribers, and I had like 5 paid subscribers. So I said, okay, I will go on and I will continue. And that's what I did. And then people just came, and like from the Facebook group, like they all came and they all subscribed. I have some people that really want me to do protocols for them, like to do like specific like nutrient based protocols. In French, we say when you sit between two chairs, that you either go on the right chair or on the left chair. So we say avoir le cul entre deux chaises, which is quite a nice analogy. So I'm now faced with a situation like I do have some people that ask me like or even push me to become, like more professionalized and things like that. Because in France, actually, there is a very specific situation because in France, there is the so-called naturopathic doctors, like the NDs, the naturopath in French. But like the profession, because it's not recognized by the state, you're not forced to have a 5-year master to do this profession. So there is a real freedom. Like if I really wanted to do this, I could do it like really quickly, because when you have like 3,700 subscribers, it's like you will have some clients, and in some sense I already do have clients.
And it's very important to see that you've been like building this, and it might look as if this would be like an overnight success, but you built this over years. I don't know, when did you start with this Facebook group, be an admin of this Facebook group?
The Facebook group has a change of status right now, but I started like maybe 1.5 years ago, but now there are other admins on the group, and they kind of closed the access to the other admins because it really became their livings. So I don't really have access to publications on the group, but like the job is already done, like I now have like 4,000 free subscribers, so I can grow now on my own. It's not really a problem. And I wanted to have your opinion on that, maybe to publish on X.
Yeah, I think first of all, if we're like zooming out, we can see that no matter what platform it is, even if it's a platform like Quora or Reddit, health, wellness, all this is booming, also like mental health stuff. So this is very important. It's always about finding like a unique selling position which you have, since you invested so many hours of your life into this. You help people on Facebook, and now you're building this community on Substack. If we're looking back, then before X, it was Twitter. And I found Substack through Twitter. So I was on Twitter just resharing my stuff that I would have written on my Medium blog. And then on Sunday, Twitter asked me whether I would start a newsletter. I was like, yeah, okay, why not? And I was just like clicking, blah, blah, and I had to give it a name, and then was Christina's newsletter, and this what it was it. I didn't do anything with this newsletter. And then later, when Elon Musk took over and took the reign of X, everything changed because Elon Musk wanted to buy Substack. And the moment they said, no, we won't sell you Substack, he then changed the whole system. So back then, lots of all the news people and top tier media and so on, they were all linking back to Substack and bringing like traffic to Substack and from Substack to X. And this has changed. This is something you have to keep in mind. So if you're putting a link and you want to, for instance, share a Substack URL, then X is gonna suppress this. But of course, there are like things you can do. So for instance, you're gonna post something you've maybe written on Substack, you just take a snippet of it, put it on X, and then in the comments also you're gonna say, you know what, after an hour or so, I can tell you I'm not an X expert, but it's always like after an hour or so, you can then say, you know what, for more, you can subscribe to my newsletter, as so many do. Okay, so this would be something. So, and if we're talking about X, of course there are people interested in health and all this stuff. I could see you also posting on X. All you have to do, of course, is to think whether you want to be on this platform, because the platform is changing. And then you have to see, okay, what is like the resonance? What is the feedback you're going to get there? But it's super smart to do it. Just wanted to tell you that it really suppresses the links. So I also did this. Then I started like, yeah, sharing the links there on Substack. And then I thought, okay, from whatever, like, I don't know what, like how many impressions, whatever, like thousands of impressions or so, I then just got like 10 impressions, simply because, yeah, someone clicked on a button or so and then told, if there is Substack involved, then we don't want anyone to see it anymore. This is, I guess, what you have to keep in mind. But it's super smart to repurpose your stuff and to share your stuff, not just on Facebook, but also on X, if you have the time, of course.
Yeah, like it's like on Facebook, like basically like whenever I do a post, I just put a pic like of my article. I just explain like a post, but I always like put the link like only in the comment, because whenever you put a link like from Substack or from any other platform, like Facebook will shadow ban, like, so you tend to have like not a lot of visibility. So
And this is the best on Substack, really, for everyone listening, because at the moment on Substack, if you're linking out of the Substack ecosystem of this matrix that is Substack, it's totally fine for Substack. Of course, at some point, this could change, or there could be specific topics suppressed, and so on and so on. The only thing you have to keep in mind, if you are just selling your things, Substack is gonna see it and find out about it, then it could happen that you're gonna get banned from the platform, because it is about in-depth long form content on Substack and quality content. It's definitely not about just building a sales funnel. I think these are the most important things here. And if we're talking about all this, you have to keep in mind that on Substack we have like 29 categories. So it starts, of course, with politics, which is huge, and we have tech and all this. You are, I guess, now in a category that is also like saturated. Maybe you can tell us more about like the category you put your newsletter in the back end.
First, like on the Substack parameters, like you have some hashtags that you can put, like some words. But in with regard to the categories, I think like there is science, there is health, and there is maybe wellness and sports or something like that. I don't especially remember precisely. But like in science, my account sometimes is ranked like on the 20th like position, or I was even like ninth once. But it really depends. Like sometimes I'm on the 80th, like or something like that. And I feel like there are like for any Substack categories, like there are maybe like 10 people that are really on the top and that don't really move. It's quite doable to be like in the top 50 and to remain, like to stay there, and then it really increases your visibility. But I think that Substack is reevaluating like really, really often, like the position of people. And when I check my account, like I always move like from like the place, like on the podium. But I think if people, like I did really invest time, like if people are listening to this, like if they really work and publish, like for example, once or twice a week, because I really feel like Substack is taking this into account, like how often people publish, etc. And I'm also in the wellness category, but this one is very, very competitive, and it's more like all the coach for wellness, like people doing yoga, etc.
And you said you are often like rising in health and wellness then, right?
It's more science. Like there is a science category, and I was more often like in the 41st. It depends, but I check every day. I was just ranked like 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Yeah, and so the thing is, what you need to keep in mind is we have 29 categories on Substack, and one of them is science, another one is health and wellness. And Substack, in the past, you could decide, okay, which category is like the best for me. And now you have to decide, okay, this is like my primary category. You can't go with two categories or so. So if it's, for instance, science, then someone can click on science on the explore page, and then they can see it always now starts with rising in science. So to support like the rising bestsellers, but then you can go into the like, yeah, more senior bestsellers, let's call it like them. And these are really people who then have an annual recurring revenue that has reached a specific threshold. This can be, it really depends on the category, but let's say whatever, like, I don't know what, $10,000 or so. And then you can find this person here on the bestsellers, top 100 bestsellers. And I guess then if you're going to say it's science, then here's somewhere we find you. And you can then be a bit strategic. You can think, okay, is maybe science the right category for me, or would it rather be something else that would fit better? And if we're then checking out your Substack publication, what I really like is the title, as an example: feed your mind, your brain on nutrition. Can you remember like the moment when you gave it a name and you labeled your Substack newsletter?
Maybe 5 years ago, I watched a documentary that was called Feed Your Head, a documentary about the history of all the movement that people who discovered the link between nutrition and the brain. Basically, it's a documentary about that. I watched this documentary maybe like 5 years ago, and I just had a memory about it. Like I remembered the moment, and I decided to give my Substack like almost the same name as this documentary.
Oh, nice. So this was like the hook there.
Yeah, yeah. I just found like feed your mind. Well, because it's about nutrition and food, and basically it's about the brain. So like the name came really easily.
What do you do like to draw people into your Substack and you're about? What is like this passion story?
At first, like on that Facebook group, like I was publishing, like, but just as like not as a contributor, because I was like looking for advices. I just asked people advices, and then because I read much more, I became much more specialized, and I realized that I was really helping people, and that people were like thanking me. But it's hard to find really a moment, like a precise like light bulb moment, because it really came like very gradually, and it's hard like to explain. But I would really say that that it built itself like during the last 2 years, because I was like contributing like really a lot on those Facebook group. And so this is the reason why really it's really like building community with people on the long term.
What I can see from your about and why it's working and why it's converting people is really that you are super specific. And although you are just a patient, this is your unfair advantage, you know? You've been in the trenches and now you're helping others, you know? I guess this is your unique selling position. Or what would you say why so many people then decide to become your subscriber?
I think that I really have a good point of view because I have been there and I know what people are going through because I lived all of this mess. Like very often the doctors don't really know how the patient feels, you know, and they just have some symptoms criteria. So they will rank these people and put a label. Okay, you have generalized anxiety disorders and blah, blah, blah. They did not really went through all of that. And I really think the fact to have somebody that lived that really offers really a deep understanding of what people go through. You have to put yourself in their shoes, as we say in French, you know? And so I think this is what my Substack really brings. If people read my article, they will quickly understand that I understand what they feel.
Now the AI written content has surpassed the human written content. And so everyone is like longing for people who actually feel the way they feel. And it's not just like on a level that someone is just explaining things to you, but rather that you can make them feel. And I think if I'm reading one of your posts, then I'm like, oh yeah, you really make me feel this. What I really love is when I'm going through your archive and I saw this one, Feed Your Mind from a Patient for the Patients. This was, I guess, like your kickoff story here, which got more than 500 likes, about 200 comments, and more than 100 restacks, meaning shares on the platform. And here you explain like your whole story. And there were so many people then saying, wow, I love this so much. And I think this is really the best. And this is something that I would recommend anyone to do. So if you know your why, if you know why you're doing this thing, if you knowing why you're building your Substack, then definitely tell people about it. The most interesting thing for everyone listening is also in the category health, wellness, and science is what is like your typical posting rhythm on Substack? And do you use if you're going through the archive, do you use a paywall? And if you use this paywall as you did for instance here, where do you put this paywall? How do you use the paywall?
I try to publish twice a week. I usually do one free post. It will be like a 1,000 word post. And then I tend to do some protocols, you know, like things like that, like more precise things. Then I will explain and put a lot of science for free, you know, like I explain, like I put a lot of sources. But if people want to access the protocol, then there's the paywall.
If we're going through one of your stories, these are super long and super in depth. How much time do you put into writing these?
So I did have a lot of posts that were like already done like 1 year ago before even that my Substack existed. But I do, of course, I write other posts, but I tend to, I don't know, like maybe 8 hours a week or something like that.
Yeah, this is the best, I think. If you have something already, if you're, for instance, a book author or similar to you, you are in science and you have something already like written or translated, then to republish this, repurpose this, because it's the best, you know, to get more eyeballs on this. And no one is going to say, you know what, you take this from somewhere else and you put it on Substack now. If we're thinking about like this posting rhythm, then you are writing then on a weekly basis, right?
It depends because like sometimes I can spend a week like without writing, you know, but sometimes like during the weekend when I'm like super focused and I have a lot of inspiration and I say, oh, this idea is good, I'm gonna write about that. I can write like a whole afternoon and then I will write like 2 articles, like maybe like 4,000 words or you know, like 3 word pages. Because Substack has like such a great system where you can put drafts, you know. So I do had a lot of drafts. Like when I'm thinking about an idea, I just say, okay, I'm gonna continue. I don't want to sound too stereotypical about the Parisian life, but this is my life currently. When I go into a cafe and I write, and yeah, sometimes I can spend 3 hours there.
If we're looking at these featured images you're using, because these are very important, because these are like the visual hooks for your Substack newsletters, which then land in the inboxes. I guess these are then AI created. Am I right about this? Do you have any tips on how you are creating these? Do you create them before writing your stories, after these? Or do you have any like prompt suggestions or so for others?
I know that a lot of people are just using the very classic LLM prompt system, like they put words and this should appear on the image, etc. But when I do a prompt, I basically write as I was talking to a person, like I want a little boy looking at the sun, etc., as if the place where he was heading to, or something like that. I just do prompts like that, and like it usually comes to me like in a flash, and I say, okay, for that, I will use that title because I want to have like 25 or 30% of openings. I love psychoanalysis, so I use, okay, I want this archetype and I want the image of a children that basically sees the light again. And then I think about catchy like sentences. This post was about brain fog, so I basically think about bring your mind back to life. Sometimes I also include some AI generated like scientific pictures, like pics of molecules and the chemical structures, etc. Because all of the scientific part can be a bit boring sometimes for people, and I understand.
When did you decide to introduce paid subscriptions? Was this right from the start back in 2025, or when was it that you said I want to get paid for my words?
It's kind of the same from the other elements, because at first, like the price was like $8, like the basic price that you have at the beginning. And I just started to publish actually, and from of my Facebook group, I did have a lot of person that were like supporting me like right from the start. So at the beginning, like in the 3rd of August or something like that, I had 2 paid subscribers. Like I made like maybe $100 or something like that. So it basically came gradually again. I had 4 and 5 subscriber, and then I like a month later I reached like €1,000 or something like that. And then it things came like gradually, and I think like this is my approach now to life. I think that if you're actively looking for something, it doesn't usually come. It's just when you let things happen. And I just got more and more. And after 2 months or something like that, I had approximately 30 paid or 20 paid or something like that. And I've read that many people remain stuck like for months, like during like 1 year, like they remain at 20 paid subscriber or max. Okay, I'm very lucky and I have to continue because I cannot let this like escape. And when I had like 2 to 3 doctors, I've said to myself, okay, I really need to go into it and to dive and to dig even further.
Yeah, doctors on your list and stuff. This is a huge success for you. And what I think is interesting with your approach is really that, okay, this is now in euros, but I don't know exactly what is it in dollars with your monthly and your annual for me?
Since I've reached like the bestseller formula, like I did like a formula, so it's now like $5, but like it's only until March 10, and then it will be like $10.
Okay, so you're gonna increase prices. I think this is also smart. You can start with whatever $5. So you somehow Substack wants you to start with $5. Otherwise, it's not gonna be sustainable with all the Stripe fees and the credit card fees and so on. The annual, I'm gonna see it's about like $180 then, right? Or
I did a discount like this week, like it's like 50% off. So I just like put like a $5 for a month. But like those wouldn't be like the usual. Like I will put like $11, and I think the year will be like $200 or something like that. I was thinking about doing like a founding member price, and it will be like much higher, maybe like 4 or 500. But those person I will give like a lifetime comp, like COMP.
yeah, but what I think is interesting, your promo here, where it says, $199 lifetime option, because this is something where people often get confused on Substack. So usually the founding member as on any other platform, or the idea of a founding member is always you pay once and then you're gonna stay like forever. And on Substack, this is different because they want you to earn like this recurring revenue. And this is, for instance, if you're gonna say with the founding members, you're gonna pay whatever $200 or so, then the next year they're also gonna charge you $200. So I think it's smart that you're gonna say, you know what, if you become like lifetime member, then I'm gonna give you like the comp and you're gonna get like this lifetime membership. At the same time, you can also say, tell people you can with the founding, you can, for instance, say, you know what, I want you to put in a price here. So I could also say, you know what, I would love to support you with $1,000 or $2,000. It really depends on the audience, on the community you built already. So I also see people getting whatever, like suddenly $1,000 with one subscriber because this person says, you know what, I'm gonna support you with your Substack. So this is, I think, a smart move, saying then I'm gonna go back to this idea of a founding member that is just gonna pay once and then can stay forever. And from my experience, I can tell you, you might have the feeling first, of course, lifetime. What does lifetime mean? But on the internet, what is lifetime? What is a lifetime? You know, what is going to happen with Substack in 5 years or so? What is going to happen with you in 5 years? You know, when you're in your 30s, you never know. So things change, and people are gonna understand this. And so, yeah, lifetime. You don't have to worry about lifetime, I think. And on the other hand, when it comes to founding member, you always gonna get these people who paid already whatever, like $500 or so. You're always gonna get these people pay you for a course or so. You can always say, you know what, I'm also have a course, so people gonna pay you for a course and stuff. And I guess this is super important. I think this idea is pretty awesome, and you can then test whether also people gonna pay you like on an annual level, or they're gonna say, you know what, this is like a lifetime thing for me. So it really depends. Is there anything you would like suggest for new writers in your specific category? Is there something you learned?
That people should really don't doubt about what they have to say, because there are always much more people that are in the same situation as you. You know, a lot there are millions and millions of people in the world that look for this information, and unfortunately a lot of them don't find it. I think that everyone on this earth has something to say, okay, and that you have to say it. You have to shout your truth. And there is a sentence from Carl Jung that says, if you don't know who you are, the world and the universe will show you, you know. So you have to show, and to show people what you have to say, basically. And there are a lot of people, not only about nutrition, but there are a lot of people that just tell their life story of resilience and things like that, you know, like family stories, like complicated relationships and things like that. I think we all have some kind of example. So I think that people should not really doubt. And I think that they should try to build a community and maybe to just do what they love, because I love what I'm doing. And I feel that when you really love and when you really bring energy to it, like things can really become magnetic, you know, and like people feel it like at some point. Like if you don't like what you're doing, like people will feel it. On the other hand, if people feel that you love what you're doing, they will come, you know.
I think this was like the moment to take action and to jump, similar to what Remy said. And Remy, if I bet so many people now already like say, "Oh, I'm so in love with him. He's amazing. He loves what he's doing." How can we connect with you?
You can contact me on Substack, and just after this live, I will make sure that I update all of my links on my profile, so you will be able to contact me on all links. Maybe not on Facebook, but I will answer you on Substack private messages, because I do that quite often, because I have a lot of people contacting me. I will be glad to do so and to answer you. And I try to do, and this is another point, I think this is important to really maintain a connection with your subscriber, because like if you are like a very big newsletter and you only publish like some articles and some obscure biochemistry thing, it's not very, you know, like it's not very good. So I think that this is about like bringing, let's say, some added value, you know, like to people's life, and you have to like to get in touch. I feel like on this platform there are a lot of people that spend a lot of time on it. Like it's not just about scrolling, you know, like it's not like Instagram on which you like you see a picture and blah blah blah. No, it's not. It's just like people who actually read, and to know that there are people that that read and maybe spend like 15 minutes like to read an article, it's really worthwhile, you know. And I also know like some people that have like a few hundred subscribers, and they have a much higher engagement level as I do on my post, for example, because they really bring like a lot of passion and a lot of connection. Like, for example, they do like 10 notes a day and they have like 40 to 50 likes. So I think like this is a great way.
And maybe one more question in regard to Substack Notes. How often are you posting on Substack Notes?
I don't do it really often, to be honest. I sometimes like I put notes, but just like to put an article or I put some quotes and things like that. Like I don't do daily notes, you know. It's maybe something I should do more.
Remy, many thanks for the interview. It was really delightful. I wish you all the best.
Thanks a lot.